Let me ask you, in terms of your presentation and what you're trying to do here in terms of teeing up this discussion. As you know, there's a lot of activity that's beginning to take place across the country with different groups with kind of balanced budget gaming, if you will, for people to play games, and they tend to gravitate towards cut all the federal affairs budget, which is like 1% of the total spending. Other kind of minuscule things. It seems to me, unless the public understands that you guys don't appropriate entitlements, you don't vote on entitlements annually. Okay, they're about 57, almost 58% of the unified budget. You got 7% more now on financing the debt. And from your chart, I think roughly we're going to go from $400 billion to $900 billion in those costs. Now, what's left is 37%. 20% is defense. We're not going to cut that anytime soon, it seems to me. Next 10% in absolute terms is Homeland Security. So 535 of you are going to be arguing over this, kind of declining share. My concern is the American public understands that kind of in reverse. You can't get from here to there anywhere in what you're proposing without tackling entitlements. So the political question is, when and how politically can you achieve that outcome?
Well, I would say with the current government we've got, they just gave us 2 new entitlements. Class Act is an entitlement as well, on top of these.
Another Ponzi scheme.
Ponzi scheme according to Ken Conrad, and I think he's right. If you take a look at just last year, according to the GAO, our unfunded liabilities were $62 trillion, now they're 74. Just boom, in a year. And so the political will has got to be, people have got to be willing to talk to the American people. People in Congress, in White House, have got to be willing to talk to people like adults, not like children. Look, I put this out there in 2008. I ran on it for re-election. I have a district that went for Dukakis, Clinton, Gore, and Obama. And I got 64% last year running on this plan against the toughest challenger I had since my first campaign. And I, for one, believe that if you tell people the truth, you give them a solution, you tell them why you're doing this, people accept it. They're ready to be talked to like adults. And the American people know there's something wrong. They know this is broken. What do you think the Tea Party's all about? They know we're off the tracks and we're running off the rails fast. And so my argument is the sooner we face up to it, the sooner we talk to people with truth, the better off we're all going to be. I mean, under this plan, you don't affect retirement benefits for people in and near retirement. And if you do it now, you can do that. If you wait 4, 5, 6 years, it's about $4 trillion in debt. We go deeper every year. We don't do anything. You can't make that promise. It's austerity. It is hit people whose retirements they rely on now and tax the economy. That is the plan that we're on right now, which is delay, kick the can down the road, make it worse by adding more spending to the pile. And my fear is those who are advocating the current course we are on, more spending, new open-ended entitlements, are comfortable with this. They're comfortable with the notion that our government's going to grow by about 1/3 very quickly, because at the end of the day, I think they're comfortable with the idea of having a new tax system on top of this existing tax system, a new VAT or whatever, in addition to all the other taxes we pay, because that's what Europe has, and they like Europe. I mean, it's a nice place to visit, but take a look at the fact that they have double-digit unemployment rates that are chronic. They have lower living standards than we do. That is not a path we want to follow. But I would argue that people who are running Congress right now in the White House are very ideological. And I don't mean this in a disparaging way. They just believe that the government ought to be the centralizing force in our lives. They have a different view of government, which I would describe as, rather than having the traditional American principle of liberty, freedom, free enterprise, self-determination, having the goal of government to promote equal opportunity, they believe we ought to abandon that and go more toward a traditional Western European system where the goal of government is to equalize the results of our lives. And that is not a society that is vibrant, that is prosperous, that grows. And so I would argue behind these scary numbers is a conflict of ideology or political philosophy. And we've got to wrestle that out. We got to make a pick in this country. I think we're under a realignment, a political realignment in America, and we've had lots of them in the past. Jefferson, Lincoln, FDR, LBJ, the Reagan Revolution, and I would argue the Reagan Revolution ended probably in 2006. And so a new political realignment's underway right now. The question is, which way is it going? They typically last a generation. Obviously, right now, it's going very far to the left to basically move us as quickly as possible toward more of the cradle-to-grave welfare system. People in Congress call it the third wave of progressivism, or that's the phrase that's used. I would argue that that's not where the American people are, and that most people in this country, a vast majority, believe in the free enterprise system, believe in a merit society, believe in an opportunity society with a safety net versus a welfare state, and that they want that. And we have to offer that. We're not just the opposition party, we need to be the alternative party. And we've got to give them a choice. In the next 2 elections, they're going to have to make that choice. And if we give them that choice, a clear choice, I believe in this current center-right country, we'll win that referendum. But if we don't offer them that choice, with all this new government coming on, we won't be a right-of-center country much longer. The culture of dependency, where more people live off of the government than on themselves, will seep in, and we will lose that kind of a referendum.
When you do this, do you include, if not, I would suggest you do, that 47% of all the people that file taxes don't pay taxes?
Mm-hmm.
Do your constituents get the sense when we talk about broadening the base that's
Yes.
getting harder and harder to do?
I do, and I also talk about the Tax Foundation stats. I'm a big fan of the Tax Foundation. It's a great objective think tank. What they're telling us these days is 20% of Americans get 75% of their income from the federal government, totally dependent. An additional 20% of Americans get 40% of their income from the federal government, so they're reliant. A full 60% of Americans, according to the Tax Foundation, get full 60% get more benefits in dollar value from the federal government than they pay back in taxes. So today, according to the Tax Foundation, 4 out of 10 families in America are supplying the incomes or supplementing the incomes for themselves and 6 other families. Once this budget gets into full force, it's 70%. Or 3 families out of 10 are supplying and supplementing the income for themselves and 7 other families. That is an unsustainable trajectory. You cannot have a vibrant, free economy and a sustainable fiscal situation with those kinds of data. That's why we got to change.